It's okay to have a crush on your therapist. It happens all the time. People fall in love with their therapist frequently. But when that happens, you fall in love with what's called a false relationship because there's not the same level of disclosure from therapist to client as there is from client to therapist. So there's sort of a sense that like it's very easy for people sometimes to feel a sense of like intimacy with their therapist that maybe they haven't experienced well before because the therapist is there and is unconditionally giving them attention and, you know, is non-judgmental. So that happens. If that ever happens to you, it's not a bad thing. And actually, if you tell your therapist that that's happening, that can actually be really helpful because your therapist can do something with that. We actually learn about that kind of thing in grad school, like how to navigate that. If it becomes a problem to where you are no longer able to concentrate in session, if you start to have a whole bunch of intrusive thoughts about the therapist in that kind of like sexualized, fantasizing way, and it's just way too hard for you to do what you need to do in therapy and pay attention to it in that way, then it's probably time to move on. Also, if you start flirting with your therapist, if you start hitting on them, if you start trying to get them to break their ethical boundaries, then you really need to start to find another therapist. But if that's happening, your therapist is likely going to bring it up with you and will basically say to you like, hey, this either needs to stop, we need to talk about it, because if the flirting and stuff doesn't stop, then I'm going to have to refer you out because it's going to affect our work. It's a good question.